We're recording. Yay.
Hey, everybody. Did you miss us? We skipped a week.
I think so. I missed you.
I missed you a lot. I like text you in the middle of my like stress fueled freakouts. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait till we can have a podcast again so I can vent to you and complain and be stressed. Anyway, I'm glad that we're back. It was there was a lot of like travel and some things going on the last couple of weeks. So I'm sorry we skipped a week for you guys. But the beauty of us having our own podcast is we do what we want, and we had to take a week off. So here we are.
We do what we want.
We do what we want, generally speaking. All right. Well, we're going to talk about my photo shoots in 2 days. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, is there anything else like fun and exciting you want to talk about? I know you've been playing all the sports, been having a good time in general. Do you have anything fun you want to share?
Fun. No, I mean, yeah, I've just been enjoying playing, being social, 3 rec sports. I have had 3, yeah. Haven't started 2 of them yet. Well, kind of started 2. Kickball, basketball, and flag football.
I love it. I'm mostly excited about the flag football. Like, I really want to see a lot of like videos and some feedback from that one, because I don't think I'd be good at kickball. I'd probably be okay at. The other 2, terrible. So I'd be really interested just because I'm a football fan anyway. Yeah. So I'd love to like watch you guys crush that. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too, because apparently there's like plays and stuff. I haven't played football. Like, my dad played football in college, so I grew up like throwing football around and like playing at camp when I was a kid and stuff. I was like the only girl like on the flag football team at camp. But that should be interesting. I am a little bit frustrated because I have been dealing with some more back issues lately. My back's been like really flaring up, and I'm sure it's just, a combination of all the new things, right? Like jumping and running from basketball, which I haven't done in a while. Kickball's not that much. Just basically just standing around and kicking the ball every like 30 minutes or whatever, or 20 minutes or whatever when you're up to
mostly socializing.
Kick. Yeah, it's mostly socializing. Yeah. But yeah, I've had to like take a step back in the gym with lower body again, just because it's like one of those things that's just constant pain. Like, I just lay on the couch and I'm like, ow, like constantly. So that's been annoying, but I don't want to give up like the sports side of things. So I have to like tone it down on the lifting side of things, especially with lower body and with some pulling motions. I'm having a lot of issues like in my thoracic spine, and like the low back is kind of just where everything comes to. And we talked about this on a previous podcast. Like, typically it's not where it hurts, like the spot that it hurts, especially for low back injuries. It's either above or below or both. And so in my case, there's like a lot of upper thoracic, just like locked up, like super tight. And then my hips are super tight. So it's like those 2 things. And then I've always had scoliosis. So that is like plays a part in it as well. But I've been
common is scoliosis, because I, at one point, because I was having so much low back issues and I had that like sway back anterior tilt thing. And somebody at some point told me that I'm like bordering on scoliosis or something. And I'm like, does everybody who just kind of has weird posture have a little bit of scoliosis? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of scoliosis, and you just get diagnosed with it, I think, depending on the amount of curvature in your spine. And you can just tell this by an x-ray. So like, if you look at my x-ray, it's like it's genetic for most people. I don't really know the exacts, but like a lot of people, it's genetic, right? You're just born with like that curve, and there's different types of curves. And then some people can develop it like over time, depending on how, if they have previous injuries or whatever. So mine, like if you look at the x-ray, it's literally like a huge kind of thing. So yeah, there's different kinds. And I think I don't know how common it is. Like, I don't know the percentages, but I do know like a good amount of people have some type of curvature of their spine. But yeah, and this is relevant to the podcast, right? Because it's, given me the time again to realize that I can't do all the things and, I need to take a step back and focus on the recovery. So I've been doing a lot of like, the stretches, and I've been working with a massage therapist, and one of my friends is a chiropractor. So I've been, and a chiropractor who actually like doesn't just crack your back and leaves, but actually like, tells you what to do and helps you through different things. So been working on that, but yeah, it's a continuous road. Like anybody who's been suffering with a kind of chronic injury like this, it's something that can be very frustrating. And there's going to be times for the rest of your life that there are like, it's good. Like you're not feeling it at all. And then it's going to flare back up again. And then it's going to go down. And it's constant like swing back and forth. And you just really have to like manage your symptoms as much as possible. And like, I literally wake up every day. I'm like, okay, stop focusing on what I can't do. Like, I know that I can't, hinge heavy right now when I go to the gym. I can't do heavy RDLs. I can't do even some leg press stuff has been bothering me. So like, don't push through it because you know that it makes it worse.
No leg press. Oh no.
Oh my God.
So terrible.
Oh my God. Yeah. Right.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been like focusing on the things I can do and like just keeping that positive mindset. Cause like we always talk about, why stress out about what you can't control and what you can't do? It makes your life even more miserable. So focus on what you can do and focus on that, because then you're just going to get better faster and you're just going to be in a much more positive mindset each day to keep pushing forward. Right. So
yeah,
that's my inspirational spiel of the day.
I like it. Like I understand that has got to be frustrating. And I feel like it's kind of speaking to like stuff that I'm being challenged with right now, where I'm really understanding. And I think we all understand this more and more as we get older, that like life and every decision you make really is about compromise. I feel like a lot of times when we're maybe young or have like the energy or the invincibility to like push through things, or not, we don't maybe have as many consequences when we're younger or whatever. Decisions tend to be a little bit easier. It's just like, do this or do that, And the more I realize as I'm like getting older, and especially having a kid and stuff, but whatever, as we age, it's like it's always you're compromising something. And I don't mean that to be in a negative way. It's not always negative. It's just that like decisions aren't always easy. They aren't always black and white. And sometimes you have to just like pick a lane and make it be the right decision and support the whatever path you're going down. Like do the best you can to support that, instead of like what you're saying, instead of thinking about all the things you can't do, you're focusing on what you can do. And in my case, it's like, instead of thinking about like, what if I stay over in this lane? It's like, no, I'm going down this one. So let's keep our eyes on the path that we're going down, but yeah, like I get it, because I know for someone like you who likes to be doing a million things and be very active, it's like, you just get excited about starting this new stuff and you're like, and here I go. Here comes the pain again. But I was going to ask you like what you're doing to really offset it. And you said like you're working with a massage therapist, you've got a chiropractor. Is there like more stretching you're doing? Do you ever, if it's like acutely painful, do you ever take any kind of, this might veer into like, I don't know, don't take our advice because we're not doctors, but like, do you take like anti-inflammatories? Do you ever take like muscle relaxers? Like, is that something you find helps, or you just don't do it? Or
honestly, I don't. Like, I haven't taken an Advil or an Aleve. Honestly, the last time I took a pain medicine like that I can remember was back in 2016 when I dropped a 60-pound dumbbell on my toe at a conference, the NSCA conference, before I was supposed to give a full presentation on my master's thesis. This is literally, I can remember it was like yesterday. And it was like, I can send you a picture of it if you want. You probably don't. But like my entire,
foot, like, completely destroyed?
No, I think I broke my toe. I just didn't, like, it was literally black. Like my two toes, my second and third toe, like literally turned black. And it was the day before. And I remember like I was trying to sleep that night, and it was just throbbing so much that I couldn't fall asleep. And I went down to like the little hotel thing and just like got some Aleve because I was literally like in pain. And my presentation was like at 8:00 the next morning. But anyway, that was, I don't even know, it's 6+ years ago.
Are you actually Superman? Because I don't know how someone drops a 60-pound weight on their foot and it doesn't just turn to like dust. Like,
it was it was very, very painful. I had to borrow shoes. I think I told you this before. I had like heels that I was going to wear, and I had to borrow sandals, like nice sandals from this girl that I like barely even knew because I couldn't put the heels on. It was kind of a disaster, but yeah, that's the last time I can remember honestly taking like an NSAID an NSAID, however you say it. And it's really just because I know, like, for me, because I just like, I'm very in tune with that stuff. And I know like, okay, this is just masking the pain. So like, if I need it, then I need it. Right. And if I can't fall asleep or if it's like something severe, but I'm not going to be taking something like that every single night to manage a chronic injury. Like that's not it for me.
Totally get it.
And for most people, you shouldn't be doing that.
If so, no, I have proof that women have higher pain tolerances. I don't know what is, because that is wild. But, and I mean, listen, again, just going to throw mine in the hat. Like I didn't take any drugs when I gave birth. And this, again, nobody feel triggered. Nobody feel judged by this. I have zero issues. Now that I've gone through it, I'm like, take all the drugs you want to. But I remember thinking when it was happening, I was like, I wasn't getting an epidural because I was in a birth center, but like, if someone was like, hey, do you want some like extra, like Tylenol 3? I would have been like, what is that going to do for me right now? Like, you need to give me like straight up, I don't know what, like morphine or something. Like that's like throwing I don't know. It's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I get it. Like, I think, you're very much somebody who like knows the science of the body. And it's like, if you're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on something for a minute, it's like, that's especially with a chronic thing, like a chronic pain, inflammation related thing. But I was just curious, like, any other things that you can just like find relief, because that chronic, like low level, just sort of always there pain is like, that can really wear people down. That's rough.
Yeah. Like, but I do like, I have with my massage therapist, like like, if you saw my back right now, we do a lot of cupping. And so like my entire back is just like, so that's like stuff that is productive healing, like working the tissues and trying to relieve some of that pain. So that definitely helps. And then there are like natural things like taking, some anti-inflammatory things like turmeric and like incorporating more of that. And honestly, just focusing on the foods that we talk about eating all the time, which is just like whole foods, right? Like nutrients, focusing on that side of things and really nourishing your body from the inside out. I think that's one of the most important things. And then it's really just like other pain management, like, getting a foam roller and laying on it and just kind of feeling that stretch, or like just trying to find a position that is comfortable when I'm laying on the couch or laying in bed. And one other thing is, and this is why it's important to also work with someone who really knows what they're talking about. And especially for my massage therapist, he asks me questions, and he literally looks at me how I'm standing when I come in the room. And he's like, you're leaning to your left side. Like you're putting all your pressure on your left side because of your scoliosis. It's causing you to dip down. And so that is also contributing to some of the stuff that's happening on the right side. So he's like, okay, as much as you can, focus on like keeping your weight evenly distributed as you're standing up. And so ever since he said that, like, I don't even know how long, this is probably like a few months ago. Now I'm super conscious of, okay, if I'm standing up like this, like generally I'd be leaning on my left side, and like, even like I put my right foot up on my chair. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm not like, I'm now super aware of that. And the more I remind myself, the more I become aware, just like everything else. So that's a huge piece of it too. Just awareness of like your body and space and like what you're doing every single day. Cause with a chronic injury, no matter what it is, it's going to kind of come back to like your everyday things that you're doing. And so the more you become aware of that and you can change those little things, that's where the relief and the long term is going to start to play a role. So now we're talking about like all this rehab stuff, but I think
it's cool.
It's important because a lot of people deal with like these types of injuries, especially low back stuff. And if you are like an active person, I mean, you're going to probably deal with it at some time in your life. So you have to be smart about it and don't just put the Band-Aid on. Like you have to find the root cause. It's just like everything else that we talk about. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love it.
Let's. Oh, sorry.
Wait. Before we get into it, your story about having to borrow shoes from someone you barely know.
Oh my God.
Made me think of a similar ridiculous story that I really want to share because it's fitness related. and it's ridiculous. And this might help because I know there are people listening and people asking questions about like, I'm on the fence about competing in bodybuilding. Like, should I do it? This story may help make your decision as to whether you want to do a bodybuilding competition. Okay. So just on the theme of switching outfits or borrowing things from people you don't know. Okay. So I was doing a national, like the highest level bodybuilding competition I'd ever done. So I'd like made it to this national level. So competing against everybody in the country. And I had to travel to this competition. And I guess you could say this is partly my fault, but not really. I had one competition suit that you wear on stage, right? A lot of like big wig sponsored people might have 2 or 3 suits because people are giving them to them or whatever. But these suits cost thousands of dollars because they're bedazzled thongs. I don't know, whatever. They're expensive.
Yeah.
Now, there are regulations about these suits, and especially like whichever level you're competing in, there's literally regulations about like how much of your like ass can be showing and like how much of whatever, you know? And they literally, again, I don't know if this is this way in the States, maybe I was competing in Canada, but like judges will check your suit to make sure it's appropriate. So the day before the competition, you need to like, there's like the athlete gatherings and everybody's there and they're giving you debriefs and all this stuff. And they see how tall you are to see which category you go in and all that stuff. And then they check out your suit and they're like, okay, is the suit appropriate or not? And the suit that I was wearing was the same one I had worn for the previous competition that I had won in. So it was totally okay. Looked great. Won the competition. Figured I was pretty safe, right? And I don't know, maybe I was doing some extra like leg workouts or glute workouts or something. But this time around, maybe the judge just sucked. The person, she kind of seemed like a miserable person and wasn't very friendly. But anyway, she did not like my suit. She said, too much of your butt's showing in this suit, basically. So I'm in this room with hundreds of other athletes, basically getting like sized up in a bikini, and the judge telling me like, no, this isn't going to work. This isn't okay. And I'm like, okay, so I traveled across the country and paid money and like prepped for 4 months. And you're telling me that like half an inch of my ass is showing and I can't wear the suit and I can't compete.
In a bikini competition.
Thank you. I mean, it wasn't bikini, it was figure. So bikini, but I'm just saying like the difference is in bikini, they probably would have been like, show as much ass as you want. But I guess in figure, that wasn't the case. So anyway, I'm thinking like, I was just like, first of all, I was mortified. I was like, I can't believe this person is like, the actual visceral judgment of it was like, really, I was like, this is so gross. Like really brought it home to me how gross this was. And then I'm like, okay, so what am I, competition's over. I don't get to do it because this one judge thought my butt was showing too much. Meanwhile, a woman behind me had the exact same problem. I guess this woman really had it out for us, whatever. And so we both go back and we're like, you want to switch suits? Try it out. Complete stranger. Okay. Complete stranger.
Oh my gosh.
We went into the bathroom, put on each other's. I know this isn't hygienic. I know it's gross. I know a lot of people are going to be grossed out, but let me tell you, look, these are suits you wear for like 5 minutes. It is what it is. Okay. Went to the bathroom, put on each other's suits, went back out, and she approved it. So who the hell knows what? And so anyway, and it was even like, I'm wearing a suit that wasn't made for me. It was a color that I didn't like. I wouldn't have chosen the whole thing, but it was like, we were both this close to not being able to compete. And we made friends. We actually were like friends for like years afterwards. Cause I'm like, we shared something today. Like we shared something very intimate today, but talk about like the ridiculousness of the sport a little bit was coming into play there. And I'm just like, I did not think I'd be wearing essentially a stranger's underwear today, but here we are. And it worked out.
That is so funny.
It was so ridiculous and stupid. And like my parent, like, cause this was a big one. So like my parents were there, Alex was there, everybody was there. And I'm like up there because you could just see people like basically like looking at my ass and like gesturing.
Now I want to see the picture. Can you send me the picture?
I will show you. Well, I don't
of you in the suit.
I'll show you a picture of both suits and you can tell me what you think. But like basically I was up there like, I don't know, they think my butt's too big. I don't know. Like I was freaking out. It was so awful.
So crazy.
Anyway,
well, I mean, the good is that, that it worked out. And that's so where ridiculous. I call when I say something like that happens, I'm like universe, like the universe was there for you.
I guess
because because no one else would have traded or given you their suit. Right. if they didn't have an issue with it. So
it's true.
That's
it all
crazy.
came together, but it was ridiculous. Anyway,
yeah.
okay.
Well, speaking of being in I don't know, getting yourself photoshopped. What the hell? I can't speak.
No, not doing that.
You know what? I'm going to just shut up and let you take
Muscle Science for Women says definitely Photoshop yourself. That's
oh my God.
That's what we're getting across.
I think I might have had too much caffeine earlier, and now it's just like, burp.
Now we're both just bragging.
Because I've told you I'm watching Bree's dog now, and so
no, I knew that the puppy was there, but I didn't know what was happening.
It's Bree's in Miami living it up at Ultra.
Nice.
And I'm watching her dog Zoe, who's so cute and she's so good, but sleep has just been a little wonky.
Does Lilo love having a friend?
Oh my God, they're obsessed with each other. It's so cute. It's adorable.
That is very cute.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you give us your update and tell us what the update's about, because clearly, brain's not working today.
I know what it's like for your brain not to be working because there are small things demanding your energy. Like I can literally hear Magnus crying downstairs right now, and I'm like,
oh my God,
somebody deal with it. Anyway, okay, photo shoot update. So as of this recording, my photo shoot's in 2 days. So when this comes out, I will have done it a few days ago. But it's been a while since we've done sort of an update on like the process, the progress. And I thought it would be cool to just have one last thing before I go do this photo shoot. And I mean, I would say like high level, like from the top down, I think that we had a successful prep, you and I. It was challenging and tight and short from the beginning. And of course, then life threw a billion things at me that made things a lot more difficult. But I think together we did a really good job of staying on track as best we could and not adding any additional stress to what I was already undergoing, doing the best we can and showing the thing that I'm the most proud of. And I've been talking to my one-on-one clients about this, is that you don't have to have a perfect situation and you don't have to be perfect. But if you just keep trying to do the right thing and just keep showing up and just be as consistent as possible, the progress comes. Like people think I have to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, what's the point? And this prep showed me 100%, like really clearly that that's not the case, because in previous bodybuilding preps, I did do it quite differently. I was much more, honestly, regimented, a lot more black and white, a lot more like for the next 3 to 4 months, I won't eat any of these things. I won't drink any of these things. I have to do this much movement. And it just was not happening for me this time. A lot of this stuff was not happening for me. But thanks to you encouraging me in a lot of ways, but encouraging me to do things like taking pictures. And I really saw, I'm like, okay, this really did work. Like me trying my best and being mindful and paying attention to some things, it really worked, even in a short time frame, and even with all of the challenges that I had. So I'm quite pumped overall with the final result, I would say. Can you hear him screaming?
No, I can't at all.
He is screaming, like, get him out of the house. I know. Where is he? Like, I'm hoping he's there with my child. No, I know he is. I know he is, but I don't know why they're not taking him away from where I am. Anyway, sorry.
I literally can't hear it, so nobody else can hear it. But I know how distracting that is. Well, I just want to say that I am super freaking proud of you, and the amount of like shit that got thrown at you during this entire period of time when it was already like such a short timeline and such a intense, intense, aggressive approach. One of the most intense, aggressive approaches you could take with our timeline. There was another added thing times 5 as the weeks were going on. And like you just said, the fact that you were able to just keep going, like literally just waking up every single day, just like, I'm going to just focus on the things, just like we started the podcast out, focus on the things that I can control. Right. And that's what you did. Right. I think you got sick in the beginning, like the most sick that you've been.
Middle of the way through, I got sick for the first time in like 5 years. Gross.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And so that was thrown at you. And then, I mean, other personal stuff. I don't know if you want to share stuff on here, but other things that you're going through in your life right now that are like literal, like the most
Huge.
stressful things that you can go on in your life
Yeah.
in good ways and in some, ups and downs or whatever. And so the fact that you're able to just continue to push through it and just like you said, keep showing up and knowing that you're not perfect, but still just trying to control the things that you can, like it showed. And, we like with the pictures and the measurements and all the stuff that we were tracking week to week, and even the scale, like going into this, we're like, we're not going to our focus is not on the scale. The scale is something we look at over time as trends go. It is one metric we want to look at. And with you, because we know kind of some of your past, we know that the scale will be trending down. You're already very advanced versus someone who might be, looking at body recomposition, where maybe they're building muscle and losing body fat, at a similar time. So maybe the scale's not doing that much. For you, we knew just from how advanced you are that it probably makes sense. The scale is going to trend down a little bit if we are taking this approach. And it did, right? And it wasn't like it, the fluctuations up and down as you saw, that can be a mind game to deal with, but you kept going. And yeah, I'm just like super stoked because this is probably one of the hardest situations that I've seen a client go through in the sense of like all of the things that got thrown at you in such a intense period of time that, I mean, and I guess my question to you is like, how do you feel? Like two, how do you feel? The first, how do you feel is like, how do you feel from a results standpoint? Like in terms of like how you feel in your body, looking in the mirror and all of that. And then the second question is, how do you feel coming to the end of this and looking back and realizing how much you actually got through and like accomplished? And like, how does that make you, like, do you feel like a freaking badass, right? Because you were able to, like, I'm just saying, like, that's how I feel sometimes when I go through these things and I like, embrace the suck, as they say, but actually achieve and like get over those mental hurdles. And then you just feel like, holy crap, I did what I said I was going to do. I accomplished that. I feel like on top of the world. Right. So those are the two questions I have for you. Feel free to choose whichever you want to start with.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. And you've been a great source of just sort of like calm support and like rational feedback through this whole thing. And, before I told you like offline that I struggled with, I felt like every time we were having a check-in, I had a new thing, right? And, a new excuse or a new reason why things were just absolute chaos. And I'm like, I'm not used to being somebody who's always got a thing like, well, there's something going on. Like, I don't like being that person. I like being the person who's like, I did everything. Here it is. Low drama, low stress. Here you go. And so it sucked for me to be like, guess what this week? Guess what's happening now, But you were always really supportive and just like, look, we're going to do what we can. This stuff happens. I get it. It's okay. Like whatever. So thank you for that. I feel like physically, I feel great. I will say a couple interesting things I think that will be useful for people who maybe are thinking about doing a body recomp or like some kind of plan like this. I think it's really interesting that we did, like you said, quite an intense, like sort of caloric restriction for a short period of time. Again, for all the reasons we've talked about, it's not my first rodeo. It's a short period of time. It's okay. Like, maybe a lot of people wouldn't have gone this approach. But the thing that I found interesting was that it took me probably, if we just round up and say this was fully an 8-week prep, right? It probably took me like 6 weeks to start kind of feeling like hungry and like I wish I was eating a little bit more, which is sort of impressive. And I think it speaks to first how just well fed I've been, like how full I have been for so long. And I don't just mean like my stomach is full. I mean, like I'm just well fed, like my muscles are full. It has everything it needs. I haven't been in any kind of restrictive mode for so long that my body really had a lot to work with, even when I was like cutting these calories down, right? It really wasn't until kind of
You're
more
healthy.
recently. Yeah. And I mean, again, I just think that that's something I want people to know is like, first of all, if you're coming from a place where you're like, I've been eating too much and I just haven't been doing much for a long time. And it's going to be so hard for me to start. And it's like, maybe that's the perfect place for you to start because your body is coming from a place of having everything it needs and it's great. And maybe that's the healthiest place for you to start doing like a sustained and reasonable cut if that's what you want to do. But really like, all I did was I literally cut out second dinner. I told you I was having second dinner
Yeah.
for a couple years. I cut out second dinner and I cut out snacking. And, I'll talk about ups and downs, but like that, I'm happy about. And I feel like I truly have not really been having cravings or like, I want this to be done until this week. And I feel like it's less about that I'm feeling restricted or depleted. And it's more about knowing that it's almost coming to an end. And so I'm just like, come on, like, it's more like a mental thing. Because I really don't. And, my workouts this week too, I have felt a little bit less like energy. I'm like, I kind of just want to go through the motions a little bit. I'm not really feeling it, which again is to be expected after almost 2 months of being in a pretty intense deficit. That's why people don't try to build muscle on a deficit, right? Because you're just not going to have the same energy or motivation to work really hard in the gym the way you need to, right? But all of that stuff is stuff that I expected and I think is like totally normal and it's fine. I also am getting a little bit frustrated with like the macro calorie situation where I'm so used to eating like pretty high fat and like high fat animal products that like there's so many days where I will be almost at my calorie limit, but I still have like 40 grams of protein to eat. And I'm just like, okay, here we go. Egg whites and whey protein again. Like it's giving me flashbacks to my bodybuilding days where it's just like, get that protein. But you've got to like really do some juggling to like make it all fit. And it's just been so long since I've had to do that. But the positive thing I take from it is that it's making me so much more mindful about like, there were probably some periods there where I was like low on protein. Like I was not getting as much protein as I should have been. Not like 40 grams a day, but like maybe I was hovering more around 100 when I really should be at least sort of 125, 130, whatever. So it's been a really cool journey of like just getting myself a lot more mindful, paying much more attention. It's been really, really cool for me to show myself, and I'll be able to pass this along to other people that like this time, and Alex has told me a couple times during this prep, he's like, I'm going to tell Rachel because of something I ate. So I'm just going to tell you now. And I mean, you've seen my MyFitnessPal, so you could go in there anytime. But like, I have had a couple drinks over this 8 weeks. I've eaten maybe a dessert or two. I really haven't changed. Like there was nothing that was off limits. Whereas previously in different preps, I'd be like, I cannot eat XYZ because it's too either triggering or tempting, or it's just not going to fit, whatever. And this time I didn't want to go that route because I'm not doing a bodybuilding competition. This is my life. I just want to look a little better. I don't want to change my life completely. And I didn't. And I was really proud of that. Like I still went out to eat a number of times.
I was going to ask about that.
Literally like probably again because I was traveling and there were different things going on, but like I went out to dinner, I would say maybe in 8 weeks, like 4 or 5 times. I had a cocktail or two, 1 or 2 times. Like I'm not much of a drinker anyway, so that's not really a big thing, but still like things that you would think like you're trying to lose weight and you're going to go have a cocktail. And I'm like, I'm going to have one because I've been paying attention to how I've been eating all week. I know exactly where I'm at. I'm working around it for the rest of the day. Like it's a constant juggling act, but it just showed that I could be more moderate and reasonable. And then as a result of that, there's less guilt, there's less resentment, there's less cravings, there's less of any of those negative emotions that come with trying to lose weight because, I was just like, no one's telling me I can't do something. It's not that I'm not allowed to have a cocktail. It's like, you should really want to, and you should really pick a good one because these calories are mattering to you right now, but you can do what you want, So that was a cool learning experience.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like you said within this 8 week period, like you ate out like maybe 4 to 6 times, right? And then you said you had 1 or 2 cocktails. So that's
not a lot.
1 to 3, right? That is not a lot. You're not having a cocktail and then having 4 others afterwards. And then
100%.
Once you are feeling good, you're going to go crush a pizza and all of that. Right.
Right.
So that's where the awareness and the mindfulness comes into play. And then also what you said, like, you are also paying attention to, okay, I know that I'm probably going out to dinner tonight, so I'll probably have to be really dialed in, during the day, make sure I hit my protein goal, leave us some extra room for a little bit more flexibility today and things like that. And so it's really just understanding, especially with a goal like you had, there are going to be some trade-offs that you have to make. But the more aware that you can be of them, like you are, and also the more you're focused on the whole foods, like try not to cut corners and, try to work in too many things too often, the more you can stay away from that, you're just going to be more successful in what you're doing. And it's also going to like just fuel that awareness of like, okay, I had this cocktail. I woke up the next morning. I feel fine because I had everything else in place.
Drank a lot of water.
Drank a lot of water, right? Yeah, exactly. And then before you answer the second question, I just want to reiterate what you said from the beginning of this one. You went into this, like we've talked about many times, like not dieting for years, right? And you said that you obviously you felt some restriction, but it was much like less than some other people feel because your body is healthy, right? And so that's just something that I want to make sure everybody understands. Like a healthy body is a responsive body, right? And so when your body is more healthy from an internal place, right, you are going to respond so much better to the stresses that you're putting on it from any standpoint, whether it's a calorie deficit, whether it's an injury that we just talked about, whatever those stressors are. If you have an internally healthy body, like if your hormones are working the way they should, if your digestion is good, if all the things are it's not always going to be 100%, but if they're in a good place, and then you go and put a stress on your body as a deficit is, or as maybe some extra cardio that you've been doing, you will respond so much better because you have spent the time and done the work at maintenance or even in a slight surplus to allow yourself to get to this point to then push, right? Yeah. For those fat loss results. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't do because they're always in this constant dieting, yo-yoing, and it's like they've never spent time becoming the healthiest version of themselves. And you're really just doing yourself a disservice. And I can tell you from experience, like I've spent a lot of time there too. And that's even something that I'm personally working on right now, as we talked about. Like I'm working on being my healthiest version of myself, not the leanest version of myself, not even the most confident version of myself right now, because I'm in a place where I'm working through things that require me to spend time in an uncomfortable position. Not super uncomfortable, but really dialing in and focusing on a lot of the awareness behind that. So yeah, just to wrap that up, I think it's really important for people to understand, like, the healthier you are, the more responsive your body will be. And if you don't put the work in there, then everything else you do is just going to be so much more difficult. And it's honestly not going to last as long as you would think it would. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I love that. I mean, honestly, that concept, like the way you just said that, like a healthy body is a responsive body, is so important because, again, that's something I feel like women try to do too. It's like they're so stressed and they're restricting or they're doing all this chronic exercise and they're like, if I just push a little harder, I'm going to break through. I'm going to finally lose that 10 pounds. I'm going to finally get a little stronger, whatever. And it's like, you're not responding because you're already in a place of stress and your body is fighting you and your body is like crying out. And if we could just shed all that and get yourself to a place where you can just, get healthy, then your body's humming along like this well-oiled machine. And then you say, let's go get strong. Then you say, let's go lose that 10 pounds. Your body's like, cool, I'm with you. But we fight against it for so long. Anyway, I love that.
Yeah. And it's not 3 months that you spend there.
No,
it's a year plus, maybe 2 years. It depends on how long you've been pushing and how much your body's like, I'm freaking over this. Like I need time to chill out. And it doesn't happen overnight. And so and this is what I've been focusing on with my Flex Fam ladies. And like, when we go through periodization, it's like, no, I want you spending a year at maintenance. Like have you ever spent a year just trying to maintain?
Not trying to lose weight. Yeah.
Not trying to lose weight. Right. Have you ever done that? No. Or like they can't remember. Right. And so that is where, like, if you can just look at the long term and like stop trying to get that instant gratification and look at the long term, like it's just amazing what can happen. So anyway,
I love it.
The second question.
Yeah. So just to wrap this up. And I mean, one other thing I will say too, like this was a struggle for me, but just in ways that I didn't expect and in ways that like the average person hearing about, oh, you're going to like, restrict your calories pretty hard for 8 weeks to try to lose a couple pounds in a short period of time. Oh, you're probably hungry. Oh, you're probably tired, whatever. And like, none of that was really a problem. The problem was like the rest of my life and then trying to like keep it together for that. And there were times when I was like I was frustrated that like a pretty significant portion of this 8 weeks, I was moving, walking, exercising less than I normally do. Like in an ideal world, I would have ramped up my walking. I would have gone to the gym an extra day instead of less or whatever. And it was frustrating to me that there were weeks, sickness, travel, whatever, when I was just like, cool. Like I walked 3,000 steps today and that was a struggle. Like, this sucks, So it wasn't all easy. And again, if we all have that little tiny bit of perfectionism shitty in the thing in the back of our brain saying you could have done better, there is a part of me that was like, yeah, if I didn't have a billion responsibilities that were out of my control the last 2 months, man, I could have crushed it even more. But I let that thought pop into my head because it's there. And then I let it go out of my brain because the reality is the reality. It's different than the ideal, as it usually is. And I'm still proud of what we accomplished. I'm still proud of what I did. I'm happy with how I look. And to get to that part of it, I've said this before, like we made some pretty significant progress, I'd say. And like, again, I don't want to dwell too much on numbers, but I think people want to know it's fine to like throw a couple things out there. Like we can say ballpark that in this 2 months, I will have lost, or I have basically lost about 5 pounds. And that's a pretty good number for 2 months for somebody who doesn't have a ton of weight to lose, really. Like I was pretty happy where I was. I wasn't overweight. So, you got to work a little harder to get rid of body fat. I have, I'm not like crazy lean, but like my body would have been just fine staying where it was. So 5 pounds is pretty good. And I haven't even really looked at the measurements, but I've definitely lost multiple inches, probably mostly in like midsection, maybe an inch off my arms, maybe an inch off
That's
my
what
legs.
I look at more.
Yeah.
I've been looking at your measurements and your pictures more than the scale.
Yes. And the pictures, tell a pretty good story, which is, again, it's surprising, even to me, like even being a coach, even being somebody who used to take so many stupid pictures of myself with bodybuilding stuff, like I was still just like, that makes a difference. Like you can't, and that's again why you can't say, if I said I lost 15 pounds, but those pictures didn't look like they looked, it's like, it doesn't matter. Or if I lost 1 pound, I lost 1 pound in 2 months, but if those pictures look like they looked, I'd be like, shoot, okay, that's great.
So you're glad you took the pictures.
I'm glad I took the stupid pictures. I'm glad I took the pictures.
I knew it.
Yes, of course. But, and I was saying too, like the other day that like, probably the vast majority of people, and this is a good reminder to people too, who we get to be so outwardly fixed on like, do other people think am I fit enough? Do I look good enough? Can I pull this outfit off? Whatever. Like probably if I'm being realistic, most people, like if this photo shoot goes well and I look cute and I'm happy with it, whatever, most people probably wouldn't know the difference if I did it 2 months ago or if I did it now. In terms of how I look, they'd be like, hey, look fine. It's not a big difference. But I feel better. I feel like I worked hard and put effort in. And I know there's a physical difference, even if it's not super significant. And that's going to show in the confidence or the way I carry myself in the photo shoot. And that's the part that matters. Because if I took pictures 2 months ago when I was like, ugh, I have not been taking care of myself at all, and I'm kind of bloated and I ate a bunch of mini eggs yesterday, here's a photo shoot, versus I just put a bunch of effort in and I worked really hard and I feel a little tighter and I feel good. Like those pictures are going to come out better. So
absolutely.
That's the part that is the success for me, really. So all in all, feel great, look good. Everything's going to be great. I will. Oh, and then let's talk about too, quickly about this last week. I was asking you like, what are some things that we do to sort of just get as prepared as possible for a photo shoot? Because again, I'm used to like a very intense, like pre-show prep where there's like water manipulation and there's eating no carbs and then eating a bunch of carbs and like all this stuff, which again, probably matters more when you're at a leanness level where these kinds of manipulations are really going to like significantly change how you look. But I'm like, what do I do, before this photo shoots that I just feel my best. I'm like looking my best. And we're basically like, you can add to this, but it's basically like, don't really eat much different. Like if you're feeling maybe a little depleted at the end, like up your carbs a little bit, hydrate, and just like take care of yourself and try not to be too stressed. And so what I've been doing this week, I've been trying to still get my workouts in, get my walks in, pretty much eating the same, forcing myself to drink a bit more water, which is definitely a good call, even though it's so annoying. And then I've just been doing my like skincare, my nightly skincare routine, spending a little bit more time with it because I'm like, I want to look fresh and dewy. I want my skin to look good. So hydration and skincare is sort of like what I'm going to do. I can't control whether Magnus
looks great
keeps me up.
to me.
Thank you. Put some makeup on. But yeah, I can't control if like Magnus keeps me up all night. I can't control the other stuff that's going on that's stressing me out, but I can take those couple minutes to take care of my face and I can drink a bunch of water, and that's what I'm doing this week. So that was also kind of cool. It's like, what do you do to prepare? Just something that makes you feel good. Don't be like, okay, I've got 3 or 4 more days. Let's punish. Like, go get a couple more hours of cardio in or whatever. No, like that's not going to
so counterproductive.
So counterproductive. Yeah. So anyway,
that can make you look. Yeah, that can make you look worse, right? And feel worse. And so that's another thing where it's like, oh, I'm at the end of the tunnel here, whatever you want to call it, and I should just push as much as I can because it's almost over. It's like, no, you should actually just pull back and focus on doing the things that cause the least stress and the stress management. Because I can tell you right now, like you just said, all these things, you going into the photo shoot, you're going to feel so much better, not just from like a mental standpoint when you're recovered and, you've had good sleep, hopefully, and you're just feeling good energy. That is going to trickle into just how everything goes. And then also just from the way that your body holds on to water, right? We know cortisol, right? When your cortisol is high, when stress is high, you're much more likely to hold on to a lot more water and look inflamed and look puffy. Yeah. And that is a direct response of your stress response, right? Yeah. So let's not do that. And let's bring it down a notch. You've done the work, right? You've done the work for the last 8 weeks, right? Obviously you're not going to go out and start crushing, a bunch burgers of Easter eggs or whatever before your shoot.
I want to, but I'll wait till later. Yeah.
But focusing on like, okay, I put in the work, I did it, and now it's time to just coast and do the things to make you feel good, because that is what's going to allow you to show up in your best, most positive, feeling your best energy-wise, looking your best, all of that. So yeah, like in the check-in, your last check-in, it was like, hey, what do I do this last week? It's like, hey, nothing. Yeah. Relax, do the things that make you feel good. Drink some more water, focus on the basics. We talked a little bit about salt, for example, like salt and water. If you're like, I told you basically last week and the previous week to pay attention to how much salt that you're normally consuming, because this is a thing that people might not pay attention to if they're, even if you have like, most people aren't going to be doing a photo shoot, but even if like you have a beach trip coming up and you want to feel your most confident, your bikini and whatever, like just paying attention to, okay, am I just consuming the same amount of salt each day that I was before? Because if you manipulate your salt up or down, it could cause you to retain more water as well. And so that's just something that you want to make sure you're keeping steady. And so that's just like these little things that like you're not changing anything. You're just like, okay, let me be hyper aware now of like how much I'm salting my food, how many, element or elementee, however you say it, packets I'm consuming a day. Cause that stuff, like if you change that acutely, it will potentially have an effect because your body will adapt to that. Some things to keep in mind.
Well, it's been a cool journey. I hope that people who have been listening have enjoyed it. And of course, we're going to continue to kind of chat because you and I are going to do a little bit of a reverse diet situation, which I think it's so crucial. And I'm already starting to get into that mindset because I have never been disciplined with reverse dieting. I've been fortunate that because I didn't crash diet so hard in my bodybuilding days that I had major kind of like hormonal, mental, emotional issues, but I still have totally like fallen victim to the like, it's all over. Let's eat nachos till I can't stand, like that. I definitely have done that stuff. So, and I'm already getting to this point where I'm like, okay, photo shoots on Saturday. What am I going to eat to celebrate? And then thinking like, okay, I just lost 5 pounds. I worked pretty hard for it. I feel pretty good. I like look the best that I've looked since I got pregnant. Like, how do I not ruin this? So like you need to have a plan. It's so important to have a plan. And I'm really excited for us to talk about this and to go through it and like go through the process, because it's at least as important as the plan that gets you to the goal, because what comes next is the rest of your life. So let's not make that miserable. Right. So, anyway, so if folks want to like, again, ask more questions about the prep, like we will continue to share some of this. I'll share some stuff from the photo shoot. I'll talk about that. If people have specific questions about reverse dieting, coming out of a photo shoot prep or out of some kind of body composition prep, or just coming back up to maintenance calories after you've been, cutting for a while, like anything about that topic, let us know. You can just DM us on Instagram. You can email us at our podcast email, musclescienceforwomen@gmail.com. And that's the number 4, because we answer all those questions. And I just realized too, that I totally missed the perfect segue to talk about our glute course when I was telling the story about my butt falling out of my bikini. And I didn't even use that. So, I mean, I got to get more on the ball. I'm obviously out of practice, but we are still working on this glute specialization program, which is our first product, our first course, since, we created Muscle Science for Women. And we do have a sign up, first to know VIP
waiting
list.
Yeah.
Yes. Waiting list. So, and that is, can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah. So it's the link is, or you just type in rgfit.com/glutes. We'll add the link in the show notes. So you can just scroll to the description and click right from there. Just go there, add your name and email, and then we're going to be sending out more information once the launch gets closer to the date that we're going to go live. But I have been super nerding out on this the past few weeks, and I'm like so stoked about it.
You nerding out on it? No.
I'm like, we're going to make this the best glute workshop ever. And like, it's just, there's so much misunderstanding about anything fitness and health related. And so I'm just really excited for us to put this together, because I think it's really going to be a game changer for people to really understand, like, okay, what do I need to do? And what are the things that I've been doing that are not producing the results? Right. So, I'm super excited about it.
I love it. Yeah. We're putting the science in Muscle Science for Women with this one. But I mean, really, like, again, all we see when it comes to glute stuff, which is so huge and so trendy and so on social media right now, it's like, I mean, nobody get mad at me if there's somebody else out there doing it great, but like, really, it's just cute girls in leggings that show their ass nicely doing ass workouts. It's not explaining the science of building muscle and breaking down the actual specific muscles in the glutes and how they work and how they work in your body and how they work with each other and how you do different exercises to target the actual different muscles in the glutes. And how
you can shape your glutes. You just have to know how to do it.
And how to recover properly for optimal growth, and how to eat properly for optimal growth, and why strong glutes are important for almost every other facet of fitness and sport. And what happens if you have weak glutes for your body mechanics, like all of this stuff. It's literally just, and I know that's how social media works. You just look at something cute and then scroll on, but like literally it's all about, do you want a cute butt? Look at me. I have a band around my legs. I'm doing something. This is going to be so much more information, like almost to the point where, again, you're the smart one. I'm like, Rachel, are we giving too much information? Like, I don't know. Do they need this level of information? But I think, in keeping with the way we like to educate, I think it's better to probably provide more background and more theory and more application. And you don't have to take it all if you don't want to. You don't have to absorb all of it, but it's there for you to better understand your body and how it works. And the more you understand, I think the better you can apply it. Right. So yeah, 100%. it's going to be next level. Like, I don't think there's anything else out there that's at that level, but that's, it's my bias. Anyway. Okay. We got to get out of here, but we have to talk about our sponsors. First, I will shout out Active Stacks, because like I told you earlier, I have just been crushing protein powder because, high protein, low fat, you got to do what you got to do. And I'm almost embarrassed to say this because it's like from my bodybuilding days. And then I like moved into like paleo whole foods eating. And I feel like people will like be like, how could you eat that stuff now? But I have been crushing like I call it like a protein pancake, or it's really more just like an egg white omelet, but essentially it's egg whites mixed with protein powder. And that's it. And I'll put like almond butter on it. And again, it's like such a body.
And like cook it in a pan, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, again, if you're like a well-fed person who's used to eating real pancakes every day, you'll eat this and be like, okay. But for me, who hasn't been eating a lot of sweet stuff, I'm like, this is pretty good. And it's like, again, if I just have to get the protein in, I don't, you know, I'm like tired of drinking shakes, whatever. All that to say, it's actually not so bad. It's an easy way to get a pretty high amount of protein in like a small meal. It's like you have like half a cup to a cup of egg whites, a scoop of this protein powder, the chocolate, so good, tastes like brownie batter, and then some almond butter on top. And it's like, that's actually a pretty decent, like super high protein, satisfying like dessert or breakfast or whatever. So I have been crushing that on the reg. And thank you to Active Stacks for hooking us up so I can do that a lot, because I've been going through protein like nobody's business. And if you want to try it, if you want to try that delicious recipe of egg whites and protein powder, MSW10 is the discount code for them, activestacks.com. Definitely do it. I mean, if you're going to do it, use their protein because it's the best tasting. So that's that. Yeah.
And I've been crushing protein ice cream every single night still. So
there you go.
You know.
And then of course our other sponsor, Bubs, they've got did you get the creamer, by the way?
I did.
Have you gotten it yet?
Okay. I haven't opened it yet, but I've been going through their coffee and obviously collagen every day. So
yes. Yeah. And like the creamer, it's funny because that's like, that would be something that like prior I would have been like, this is not really plan approved, because so the creamer they make is, because now that they've added to their repertoire, instead of just having collagen and MCT, they have delicious coffee now. And so they have this coffee creamer, but it has MCT, grass-fed butter, powdered grass-fed butter, whole milk powder. So if you aren't into dairy, this isn't going to be a good one for you, but it's basically all these like high fat ingredients to make like the creamiest coffee in the world. And if that's what you're into, it's kind of what I'm into. Like I like adding cream to my coffee. And it makes it like really creamy and kind of like, I don't want to say it makes it a meal, because I'm not one of those people who's into like coffee for breakfast and that's a meal. I don't think that's a meal, but it like rounds it out. Like if you're somebody who just prefers a higher fat diet, it's a really like satisfying, creamy, tasty thing. So I have tried it a couple of times and I really like it. And the other biggest pro that I would say for this product is that it mixes super well, because you guys know I don't drink hot coffee, and I put this in my iced coffee and it just mixes perfectly. So if that's something you're into, you don't like sweet coffee, but you like a nice, creamy, just well mixed sort of high fat coffee, this is going to be right up your alley. And the code for Bubs we have is MSW20, because you get 20% off anything you buy there. And the website is bubsnaturals.com. So support us, support the people we like, support the people supporting the podcast, just support all around. Go buy some products and
support.
And that's it. We'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.
Yes. Bye. Thanks for listening.